You're watching Reality Check. Perhaps the greatest test of the so-called new Taliban will be how the extremist group treats the women of Afghanistan this time around. Taliban 1.0, their earlier rule, had witnessed severe restrictions on women's freedoms. Women could not work, could not learn, were heavily veiled, were often stoned and killed in public executions. The leaders of Taliban 2.0 claim they've moderated their views, as proof tweeting videos of girls going to school or of Taliban leaders being interviewed by women anchors on Afghan TV. But does that suggest a more fundamental change? Or are the concerns and fears still very much alive? I'm joined tonight on the show by Mehbooba Siraj. She's one of Afghanistan's best known women's activists. She's, I believe, almost 70 plus years old, and she's still very much in Kabul. She's been broadcasting a show called Our Beloved Afghanistan for many years. She's established women's listening circles in the villages of Afghanistan. We have a great panel as well, but let me just start with Mehbooba Siraj. Thank you so much for joining us on NDTV. Tell us, at this time, with about now it's been almost close to a week since the Taliban has come back to power, what are you hearing and seeing, especially when it comes to women?
Thank you for having me on your show. Hello, everyone. Yeah, it's been almost a week since the Taliban arrived. And what we are seeing of them doing, towards women or acting towards women, nothing so obvious, nothing that, in the middle of the streets they would start beating people or shooting them, or although there are some reports that this has been happened, in the provinces, like in Kunduz it happened. But at the same time here, I haven't seen anything like that myself, and it hasn't been reported either. If there were some problems, as far as the women are concerned, being, people being shot at, and in general at the airport area, that's because of the rush of the people, trying to get to the planes. But so far they are behaving really, really very cautiously, and that's where they are in reality of it. Because I don't want to say something because that's what the news says and that's what the reports are. If there are reports and news and whatever it is, I really would like for it to be proven that that's exactly what it is. I don't like to hear stories that this is what they did. But the fear of the 20 years ago of what they did, that is very much alive in the hearts and the minds of the Afghan women. And I think it's going to live for as long as they live. So that's where we really are in reality. The face of Kabul city has changed completely.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the face of Kabul city has changed. There is, as I keep on saying, that there are no, you don't see the people like before, that they were wearing suits or they were wearing pants and they were wearing, shirts, and police had uniforms and things like that. And none of that exists. It changed so drastically, so fast, that is absolutely unbelievable. So I don't know. This is a part, of course, of maybe the Taliban fear. And then the other part is of the people fear. The people also fear. So when they fear, they change themselves.
Yes.
They change themselves very fast. For example, when they're going around right now, they're wearing a burqa. A burqa is not necessary. We don't have to wear a burqa. And I don't think the Taliban wants us to wear a burqa, but they want us to be with hijab. But I want my face to be open. I don't want to wear a burqa. But the women are wearing burqas. So it's like, why are you doing this? How come this is happening? I don't understand it. Programs and television. The television programs changed the second Taliban put their foot in here. Okay, if you change the and there were a lot of TV stations were telling their women workers not to come and not to be around. So this is the TVs doing this. Personnel that are there are doing this with their female workers. There's nothing to do with the Taliban, but they're doing it. So it's really a part this and a part that. I don't know what's going to be the end of it, but whatever it is, it's not going to be nice. That much I know.
Right.
That
No, that's really honest of you to give us a clear sense of what's happening. You're saying it's not as bad as many people feared, and you're also talking about how people are doing some amount of self-censorship themselves, like
Right.
even necessarily without the Taliban asking them. They're saying, you know,
Right.
women don't come on TV. They're heavily veiling themselves. So
Right.
I see what you mean, but you're saying the fear is palpable.
Absolutely.
Understandably.
Absolutely.
Understandably.
Yeah. Very much.
But
Very much so.
But tell me about yourself, because someone like you are you able to do, you know, all the great work you've been doing to reach out to women? Or is there any problem with that?
Well, you know, I really do hope so. And I hope that they allow me to continue doing that, because some of us have to do the work. You know, by Taliban coming to Afghanistan, that doesn't mean that every problem that the women of this country have or every other problems that there exist here is going to disappear magic. That's not going to happen. Those things are here. So some of us really have to work, because I don't think the Taliban really know how to do that. So we have to do it. And I hope that they do allow us to do some of this humanitarian work that we are doing. We have been doing it so far, and we want to continue to do it. And besides, for me, as a woman, I have always worked in Afghanistan. It's been 20 years that I'm working here. And 20 years, I've been working with women, I've been working with children, I've been working in education, I've been working in information dissemination, I've been working in protection, I've been working in human rights.
Yes.
I've been doing all of that. So I would like to keep on doing that. I haven't done anything wrong for me to be afraid, for me to be fearful, for me to hide. Why?
Of course, I agree. I just was saying that because so many others have obviously felt threatened and they've left, but you're still there. You're still there.
Yeah. And I want to stay here. Honestly, I want to stay here and do my work. We have to do it. And also, this is something that I've been telling everybody. I'm 73 years old, sir, and the best of my life is behind me. You know, and for my future life, I want to finish the projects and the work that I started. I want to do that. Planning anything new for myself.
Right.
And I just want to continue and be a support for my Afghan sisters that they are in Afghanistan. 18 million women of Afghanistan, do you think all of them are going to leave? No matter what, you know, no matter how many they push their way through the airports. No. So, you know, I want to stick around and be by them to see what happens.
Well, all power to you. Just another question before we go to the others. When you see the Taliban this time around appearing on TV to be interviewed by women anchors, tweeting videos of, you know, girls going to school, Taliban leaders going to women doctors and medical workers and saying, you know, no problem, go to work. How does that, you know, because you lived through the last time, when you see them now, do you feel this is convincing, or is it just like a facade?
No, you know, the thing is that, I fortunately, actually, I was not in Afghanistan the last time when this happened.
Right.
So I haven't seen the talk of last time.
Watching
but
from
I've
a distance.
Heard enough.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes. From a distance, I watch practically every single day. But at the same time, you know, right now what they're doing or where they are or how they treat the woman and all of that, you know, we just have to wait and see exactly what is going to be happening.
Okay.
Right now, it's kind of, we really don't know what will be happening. There are going to be different other things happening.
Okay.
And those are the ones that I'm worried about and I want to watch.
All right. Okay. Let me go to the others. We've got a great panel. We've got Tanya Gudsuzian. I hope I've pronounced your name correctly, Tanya. She's a journalist. She's joining us from Istanbul. She's a close, passionate watcher of everything that's happening in Afghanistan. Mursal Nurzai is an activist who's been living in Germany. And Sunita Vishwanath is co-founder Women for Afghan Women. Let me just start by asking you, Tanya, because you're both tracking this as an area of great interest and also as a journalist. What is your sense of these somewhat conflicting signals we get from the Taliban? On one hand saying, you know, many more rights for women, but you've seen a state TV anchor being taken off air, the reports that there's even been shootings and killings of women for not wearing a burqa. What do you make of it?
Well, you're absolutely right. There have been conflicting reports, and there has been talk of Taliban 2.0. But one thing we need to consider is that there is the Taliban rebranding efforts. The PR campaign has been phenomenal. They have come back with pledges that this time things will be different. They have presented a very different image. But as Mahbouba Seraj said, we haven't seen the kind of images that we saw in the 90s. So I think what's critical this time around is that if anything has changed about the Taliban, it's a recognition, apparently, by the cadre that they will need international recognition, they will need legitimacy if they're going to last. So one would expect them to at least to pay the lip service, as they have done, by making pledges to honor at least the very basic human rights requirements.
Right.
But to what extent we're going to see this in practice, that's what remains to be seen. So it's, and I think, as Mahbouba said, we need to wait and see what kind of reports come out,
right,
before we make that judgment, because Taliban will need legitimacy, will need international recognition if they want to continue having access to international aid,
sure,
if they want to have relations with neighboring countries.
Right. And what do you make of it, Mursal Nurzai? Because Mahbouba Siraj is also making an interesting point. She's saying some of this almost seems to be self-censorship, where people are putting restrictions on women even without the Taliban asking them to.
Thank you for having me. With much respect to all my colleagues here, of course there is a certain fear that women has, and therefore people are doing censorship. There is no doubt on it. On the other hand, I clearly do not understand that we should have a soft corner for Taliban. This should not be the case, because we do not know which kind of Sharia law they want to impose on not only the women and children of the country, but to the human of Afghanistan. We can see the facts are the facts. So we have seen what they have done between 1996 to 2001, right? We have a history of violence with Taliban. Now they are claiming there is a difference between what the Taliban leader is saying and what the Taliban soldiers are doing on the streets. So we need to see the conflict between the Taliban leaders and the Taliban soldiers on the streets. The Taliban leaders are saying we will give the human right, women will be going to schools, but the soldiers on the street are completely showing a different scenario. And we have videos.
I appreciate what you're saying, because I'm sure you must be in touch with women back in. What sort of stories are you hearing? Are you hearing anything that worries you? Or?
I have here, I could show you or send you later, letters from Taliban, and they are threatening people, journalists, and people who have worked for the government, that they should surrender themselves to Taliban. And we have seen that the DW journalist has been killed. We can see that they are really targeting journalists. Which kind of rights they want to give?
Right.
I'm really afraid that the international community once give acceptance to the Taliban.
Right.
This will get us to a world where Taliban will have an access to all of us.
Okay. Sunita Vishwanath, tell us now, in terms of the work that your group has been doing with Afghan women in the past, since this change of regime, how is that going? Have there been any problems? Tell us what's going on.
I mean, it's the grimmest moment since we started 20 years ago. Women for Afghan Women actually is an organization that started in New York, where I am right now. And our first program is right here in the community, Queens, New York. It's the Queens Community Center, and it serves the diaspora in New York. But then once we got started, in 2000 and 2001. We were founded before 9/11. Over the next years, Afghan leaders from our organization went back home, which they could never do before, and started Women's for Afghan Women, and started in one province and ended up growing this organization to 14 provinces and with a presence across the country.
Right.
We have 1,200 staff, and we've served tens of thousands of women. So the organization 100% is staffed by Afghan citizens, men and women living in Afghan, hired locally in provinces.
What?
So I might be in New York, but our amazing staff is of Afghan soil and the most heroic people I've ever had the honor to work.
How's it going for them in the past week? What's it been like?
Right. So I had to give the context so you see, the scope of what work we're doing.
Sure.
Now, this crisis that we are in didn't happen overnight. We knew it. We knew that there was fighting happening all around, and something like even the takeover of Kabul was something we thought might happen not so quickly. So in the last few months, we've been evacuating from all the provinces where we have staff and clients to Kabul, and because we thought Kabul would take the longest to fall, never did we think it would fall so quickly. But so you're caught. On the one hand, at least everybody is in Kabul, where if there's a possibility of a airplane, they can get to it. But Kabul is the least safe right now, from what I'm hearing from all of my colleagues.
Okay.
So the priority for us right now, there's about 500 highest risk people, staff that have been associated with our organization and women's rights work, and highest risk clients. And our focus is to try and work with the U.S. government on a plane, or maybe get them out. Okay. And the scenes that you're showing, we're terribly afraid of bringing our people to the airport because it seems so dangerous, that ride to the airport with Taliban.
Yes. No. What a challenge. But Mehbooba Siraj, you said that, and all of you in a way are saying similar things. But you said that at the moment it may not be as bad as it looks, but it could only get worse. What did you mean by that?
Well, because you see, these people are extremely unpredictable. You never know what they're going to be doing next. And also, as one of the ladies, said that there is a difference between the Taliban leaders and the Taliban fighters. What the Taliban fighters are doing, necessarily the Taliban leaders don't know. And the other thing is the fraction that has happened in between the Taliban groups. Already the Taliban have split in 3 major groups. Now these 3 major groups are doing different things, and they have different leaders. So the danger of all of this, the splits amongst the Taliban, the fact that Taliban soldiers are very different from the Taliban leaders, the fact that one of them really what they say or what they believe in is one thing, and these people what they believe in is something else, is making this whole situation like a volcano. It really is. It is so volatile and it is so dangerous that if it erupts, it's not going to erupt the way it did the last time in Afghanistan. It's not going to be like the 1996 to 2001.
Right.
It's going to be like that.
But
it's going to be so entirely different and so horrible that the world will not believe it. Because, don't forget, there is the games of politics here as well.
Right.
All of these things are happening because behind the scenes, there's a lot of other things going on.
Okay, so that's a worrying forecast. That's a worrying forecast. But Tanya Gulsuzian, at the same time, we are seeing some pushback. It's scattered. We saw those marches on Afghan Independence Day in celebration of the flag. Some of those marches were being led by women.
Well, absolutely. The last 20 years has seen women enjoy a great deal of freedom and rights, and they are justifiably afraid that all of this is going to be taken away from them, and they have the right to be worried. They have the right to be afraid. The fear is real. There is precedent. We know what it is. We know what Taliban rule is. We saw it in the 1990s. But again, I think looking forward a little bit, one has to also look at the leverage that the international community still has to make sure that there is no repeat of the past.
Right.
An isolated social pariah Taliban-led government isn't going to work. Who's going to financially support them?
Yes.
So I think that the international community has some leverage right now to make sure that the government that they form, that's in the process of being formed right now, accepts that there are certain standards that they have to respect.
Right. But, you were saying, Mursal, that you didn't want, I mean, you're saying that, the world shouldn't buy this new, supposedly, quote-unquote, moderate Taliban. But at the same time, Germany, where you are, there were reports that the German ambassador met with some of these Taliban leaders. Is that a double-edged sword, that it's also important that the world engages with the Taliban in a way that it ensures that they do not repeat the worst horrors of the past? So there's a bit of a challenge there. Would you engage with them? Do you just boycott them? How do you find that balance?
I think the time has passed where we could boycott them. We can still boycott them, and I would be the first who will boycott Taliban. I do not want a terrorist group to rule the country. However, we lost the chance when in 2018 or 19 they sat on the same table and started negotiating with Taliban.
Right.
So let's not forget that this is not the doing of today and tomorrow. It has been done already in the past, and they have been given the chance to speak and negotiate. The very first question we should never forget: how can you negotiate with the terrorist groups? Now the question comes whether Afghanistan will be ruled by Taliban, whether Taliban will get an international recognition. Unfortunately, China and Russia are the first ones who has come forward in the very first and the second day, shook hands with Taliban. And we have seen the footages. Now, we do not know what are the details, because I did not see any reports that says what the details are. There was a conversation, a conference between them.
Right, of course. We still are trying to understand. Okay.
Yeah,
so I understand. Right, I understand what you're saying, that it's the world needs to tread cautiously. But we're running out of time. Let me just let me just go to Sunita Vishwanath. Sunita Vishwanath, there's so much data, so many statistics about the gains made by women in Afghanistan. There's been a drop in underage pregnancy. Literacy rates for women has jumped from 5 to 30% in 4 decades, and so on. You would know those numbers better. I mean, these are important gains which one hopes will not be reversed.
Yes. A number of women in the parliament are more than the women in Congress in the U.S. It's these gains. I mean, it's been to see it, from 2001 till now. It's been the biggest inspiration of my life. It's been incredible, and it's true that it's with the Taliban back in power, all of that could be gutted. But again, to Mehbooba Siraj's point, and I really appreciate it, we should really wait and see. They are saying the right things. The thing is, we have people on the ground whose lives are at risk. And so, and the people of Afghanistan, don't have the luxury of saying, oh, this is the government of Afghanistan and we don't want to live under them. They have to live. They have to live there. And so as a women's organization that's committed to working on the ground, we have to adjust to whatever this new Afghanistan is and serve the women. We didn't say we would only serve women under this kind of government. We have to be there for women. Right. So we need to wait and see. And the hope has to be that they mean what they say. But we have to be grown-ups about it. It's not like we're believing, crazy things. We have to see it with our eyes before we believe it. But I want to say that what is really important at this moment is that the people of the world give their solidarity to the people of Afghanistan.
Yes,
that means that they will take the control of their future and make the future as bright as can be. Okay. And then there's the responsibility, the moral responsibility of the international community. Nations nations that right now can open their doors
Yes.
should do so. Nations with power to leverage and put pressure on Taliban to do
Yes.
the right thing should do
No,
so.
that's very...
And Srinivas, in India, India can open its doors. India
Yes.
has promised to open its doors to Hindus and Sikhs, and it's been a week. I want to see a plane to come and take out those 280, 300 people who are
Yes.
just huddled inside the Gurudwara, fearing for their life. India should take them out right
You're
away.
absolutely right. It's everyone needs to stand up at this time. But partly the problem at the moment just seems to be to just get people to the airport and out. I mean, there's
That's
just
not a
that
problem.
itself
If
is
India sends a plane, the people will come to the airport.
Sure.
I know that.
Sure.
Where's the
Sure.
plane? And beyond our own Hindus and Sikhs, what about my 500 people?
No, of course.
It would,
I
what
think,
an amazing thing if India took them right now.
In
Make
fact,
a plane right now.
the Prime Minister did say our Afghan brothers and sisters. So let's hope the world keeps its promise of not letting Afghanistan down, especially the women. But we're out of time. Thank you all so much for joining me on Reality Check. You've been a great panel. Thank you so much for watching the show tonight.